We'll get started here in just a few. Sorry for the late start. I was running on the treadmill, and then when I sat down to get everything organized, I got hit with some hunger. I didn't realize I was that hungry and thirsty, so I had to get some water and a quick bite to eat, some leftovers, some kung pao that my wife had made. But just hang tight. We're going to get into the Brian Kohberger plea deal, that whole situation. We'll talk about what happened in Coeur d'Alene with Wes Rolley, and we'll get into some P. Diddy updates here in just a few. And anything else you guys have to add. It's good to see you, Karen. Miss Dog Lover, Mark. Luis, good to see you. Jerry. Riot, what up? CJK. Beth Gonzalez, good to see you, Beth. Tam B, She Warrior. Who'd I miss? Barb. What's up, Barb? All right. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today, we're going to be talking about Brian Kohberger's plea deal. We should be expecting something during a hearing July 2nd, 9 o'clock their time, 8 o'clock my time. But I'm not sure what they're going to do during that hearing. I don't know if they're going to get it all done and have it finalized, do the sentencing, or if they're just going to announce the plea deal, give everybody a chance to breathe, and then schedule the sentencing. So I don't know if we can expect Brian Kohberger to stand up right then and there, be addressed by the family members, maybe give some details about the crime. But I think it might be just a real quick hearing and then schedule the sentencing at another date, maybe a week or two down the line. So if you guys are going to participate in the poll question, where should we start? Kohberger, P. Diddy, Wes Rolley, or leave it up to me? If it's up to me, I'm probably going to start with Kohberger. There's been some new information released, but it's up to you guys. Good to see you, Boston. I watched the Lori Daybell interview. That woman is delusional. I haven't had a chance to see it, but just the way she comes in smiling and she just acts so casual. She's living in her own world. Ooh, Sunday gravy. What's up with you? Well, my wife is in the office today. It's just me and my youngest. I've been working out all morning and just hanging out with the little one. We got a big live stream lined up later today. The Phoenix Canal murders. You guys don't want to miss it. Super chat from Miss Doglover. Thank you so much. I think it's unforgivable that the families weren't consulted about the plea deal. Well, it looks like you guys want to start with the Kohberger case, so we'll start there. According to the information that I did collect, they did consult them, but it was very brief, very quick. It wasn't something that was pre-planned, short notice. Here, let me go ahead and just go over my notes here, and then we'll talk about it. Brian Kohberger accused of the November 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chafin, has reportedly accepted a plea deal. According to multiple sources, Kohberger will plead guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary, avoiding the death penalty. The agreement includes 4 consecutive life sentences without parole and a maximum of 10 years for the burglary charge, with Kohberger waiving his right to an appeal. A change of plea hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, July 2nd. We go live for that. It'll be in Boise, with sentencing expected in late July if the plea is entered as planned. The Gonsalves family has expressed outrage, stating they were not adequately consulted. So they were consulted, just not adequately consulted. Learning of the deal via an email and letter from prosecutors. They criticized the Latah County Prosecutor's Office for rushing the process, giving families just 1 day to travel to Boise. Other victims' families, like the Kernodles, also indicated a preference for a trial, citing the emotional toll of seeing crime scene evidence. Prosecutors defended the deal, arguing it ensures a conviction and spares families the uncertainty of lengthy appeals. The case, which drew national attention due to its brutality, was set for trial on August 18th, 2025, before this development. So why seek the death penalty if you're just going to take a plea deal? You know, that doesn't make much sense. Like it to me, it just seems like the best choice for them to win their game, not to bring any justice or a punishment to Brian Kohberger. It just seems to be for them. Like, this is their out. This is their checkmate, as far as what they're tasked with no real consideration for anything else. I understand why they did it, but at what point are these types of criminals going to be held accountable? Good to see you, Howard. Christine, good to see you. Steve said it wasn't brought up in their weekly meetings with prosecutors. Yeah, apparently this was just dropped on them. But I guess you have to act, right? You have to act before they change their mind. I mean, it's a done deal, though. You know what I mean? Like, Brian Kohberger, we all knew he was guilty. There was a contagious outbreak of hybristophilia with his case, just like the Richard Allen case. But that's expected. You know, we live in a world of good and evil. You know, we've already learned that by now. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Mark. A bittersweet. So what do you guys think? Will we expect everything to be wrapped up Wednesday, tomorrow, when they announce the plea deal? Or do you think they're going to reschedule the sentencing so we can get victim statements and things like that? What's your prediction? I feel like they'll announce the plea deal and they'll use that opportunity to schedule everything for sentencing, where then we'll hear all the details and the victims will have an opportunity to make their statements. So probably somewhere between, I don't know, the 21st and the 25th, maybe. Depending on everybody else's schedule. But I think it'll be somewhere around then. Life is absolutely not enough. Not for this type of crime. It's not fair. And for all of the Kohbergers that are out there now plotting their next murder or fantasizing about killing people or suffering from mother issues where they just want to destroy women. That's the case that we're going to be talking about later tonight with Brian Patrick Miller. He's the Phoenix Canal serial killer. His mother used to torment him and threaten him with knives, so gave him this issue where he hated women and all he could do was fantasize about destroying them and killing them and tearing them apart with a large kitchen knife similar to what she threatened him with. So I'm sure something like that is going on in Brian Kohberger's mind. And there's hundreds of them out there. There's hundreds of Kohbergers, Brian Patrick Millers, who are fantasizing. They're writing strange stories down, manifestos, creating elaborate delusions to help push them to be able to commit these types of crimes. And they're brutal for a reason. They're brutal because it may be the only chance and opportunity they get to live out their fantasy before going to the place they know that they're ultimately going to end up, which is prison. So Brian is just getting what he always knew he would get, or what he hoped for. So it's just a waste. I mean, what do we even need the police for? What do we even need the police for? Next time we catch a bad guy like Brian Kohberger, we'll just say, hey, we'll take the death penalty off the table. Tell us what happened. What do we need them for? What do we need? A judge, lawyers? We don't need any of them. What good did any of it do in this case? You know, we can just hire somebody to catch the guy, and then when we catch him, we'll just put him in prison for life. I mean, why go through the motions? It's all a big joke anyway. Howard says, I don't think it's right that the families weren't consulted. Well, they were consulted, but not in a professional way. Not in a way where they were even being considered. It's almost like they were being consulted in a way where if later on you were to look at what happened on paper and read about it, they would be able to say, well, we did consult the family. But not really. They did it in a way only so that they could say that they did, not so that they can truly consult them. Miss Doglover, I totally get where Steve is coming from. Still not enough, but BK could have been on death row for 30 years, so they may never see him face the firing squad. Yeah, it's true. You know, it's bittersweet. This system is fucked. I mean, it is fucked. There's no way around that. You know, one part of them says, hey, well, we don't want to put an innocent man to death, so we have to be sure. Well, how the hell did you convict somebody if you're not sure he's guilty or not? If you're not sure he's guilty or innocent, how are you convicting this person? Once you convict them, you better be damn sure, and you should be in a position to where you can just fry the bastard. That's how confident you should be when you convict somebody. Confident enough to put them to death for their crimes. Yeah, there's nothing fair about it. And what scares me right now is there's some sick another version of Brian Kohberger out there, some incel, and he's stalking right now. He's stalking and trolling, looking for his victim. Is that me? Is that you? It won't matter. They're going to thoroughly plan out the crime. They're going to do their best to get away with it, but they probably won't. Usually the serial killers that get away with it, they're just lucky. But somewhere out there, somebody's plotting on you, me, our family, somebody's family. They're going to commit the crime. Your family will be gone forever. This person will go to prison if they get caught. And that's all part of it for them. People that commit these types of murders are just parasitic people anyway. So why not go to prison where you live off the system? It's like a parasite camp, summer camp for parasitic psychopaths. He's going to be happy. I don't have to act like a chameleon out there with the public anymore. I don't have to play this game. Like everybody knows who I am. I'm free. I'm free to be me for the first time. Don't have to work for a living. Just sit around and live off the taxpayers. Howard says, might as well get rid of the death penalty if it doesn't qualified. Well, they put somebody to death recently in Indiana, a cop killer. So, I mean, if you're not confident in putting somebody to death, you probably shouldn't be confident in convicting them of the crime. They were contacted that it was a possibility. They said no. They wanted a trial, per all I've been hearing. Yeah, that's the information I've gathered, CJK. They wanted it to go to trial. They wanted him to pay. Because they get to wake up with this every morning. We don't. I recently talked with Drew Collins, the father of one of the Evansdale victims. I asked him, hey, man, I've talked to some victims. And, they try to help me understand this dark place that they go to, that only people who have gone through what they've gone through really understand. And I asked him about it. He says he wakes up with it. It doesn't get any better. For us, we're going to move on to the next case, right? It doesn't affect us. Unfortunately, they wake up and their sanity is being questioned. Their faith in God is being questioned. Their faith in humanity, their faith in themselves. There's no going back to normalcy. Drew talked about being in such pain that he isolated himself because he didn't want to share that pain with anybody. And a lot of people that are suffering from psychosis, that's a reason that they kind of escape out to the wilderness or they run away and become homeless. Because they don't want to burden anybody. That's how a lot of people go missing too. But I can kind of see the family members just suffering from this. There's no reason that Brian Kohberger should be spending the rest of his life in prison writing books, doing interviews, apologizing for what he did, trying to manipulate, playing cat and mouse, tormenting people, and then getting off sexually through his sadism, reliving the crime. It's just not fair what he did. And there's the flip side to the coin. Well, got the whole process of the trial, the possibility that there is no guilty verdict, the appeals. To me, that's bullshit. I mean, the same thing that what's going on with Richard Allen. He's going through the appeal process, but we know, what the outcome of that will be. So it's not that burdensome. But sitting through that trial with all those crime scene photos and things like that, it could be tough. But if that's what it takes to put Brian Kohberger on the chopping block, I think they were willing to do it. I can't speak for them. But from what I've gathered, they were willing to suffer through that to see that happen. That's the only satisfaction left. It won't bring them back. It probably won't even make them feel better. But that's all Brian's life is worth now, is a tiny potential peace of mind. If that's what he can contribute to the family members, that's all he's worth. That's all he has left. So he's taking that little bit of what he could have contributed to anything positive as a positive outcome, equaling a peace of mind for the victims' families. He couldn't do it. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to die. He's too proud. He's happy about what he did. And if he was free and he didn't get caught, he would probably do it again. He probably would have already done it again by now. He seems like a once a year type guy. Like every year, something like this would happen. And we would always wonder, is it tied to the Idaho 4? So thank goodness they caught him. But I mean, what do we need? Law enforcement investigators? We can hire private investigators. We'll capture them. We don't even need a judge. We just throw them in prison. All right, there's enough evidence here. We don't need a jury because we know that's all bullshit. We saw it with Karen Reed. People feel the same way about Richard Allen. Like you just can't trust the process. It's all crap. So let's just get rid of it all. If we can find enough evidence, fuck it. You'll just go to prison for the rest of your life. We got enough on you. There's no death penalty. There's no nothing. I don't know, Louise. I feel like the only difference is the isolation and who you might be surrounded by. But as far as privileges, I think it might be the same. Riot. On the other hand, the Menendez brothers were never supposed to be able to appeal or get out. Yet here we are in 2025, and look what's about to happen. Yeah, and that's why they never gave up hope, right? And that's how they're able to manipulate people who are susceptible to the manipulation of psychopaths, right? Oh, they were molested. There's no proof of any of that. Oh, well, if you were abused like that your whole life, well, we don't know if they were abused. Yeah, if that's true, but I'm not going to believe these psychopaths who killed their parents and went out and bought a bunch of jet skis. That's not what tormented souls do. That's what psychopaths do. But if you're susceptible to the manipulation of a psychopath, those poor boys were molested. It's possible. Prove it. But that's what these sickos do. They blame it on everybody. They come up with a story. Oh, they tried to kill my dog, so I had to kill them. I was watching that show, Signs of a Psychopath. I was watching this nut job make up this story about why he killed his wife, who had no history of violence. He said that she threatened his dog with a knife. It's fucking bullshit. But if you're susceptible to the manipulation of a psychopath, you'll be like, hey, if anybody touch my dog, I'd fucking kill him too. Like, that's you. You're a victim of the Jedi mind trick. Those are the same people that end up with hybristophilia. Getting married to probably Brian Kohberger. You might even see him married in a couple years. That's not fair. Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, both married while incarcerated. Ted Bundy fathered a child. He killed almost 100 women. I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on, guys. I can't make any sense of it. Like, how is that possible? Welcome in, Eli. Who's just coming in now? Looks like just Eli. Welcome in, buddy. Super chat. From what I understand, it's whole life in prison. No appeals, no probation, no commissary. He's doomed. Well, he's going to get commissary. He's going to get everything that they get in prison, but definitely no appeal and no parole. But he's going to live his life. He's going to wake up. He's going to go to breakfast. He'll probably go outside for an hour, come back in. He'll have lunch. Might hang around in the rec room, get his commissary. couple hours later, he'll have dinner, and then they'll send him to his room. Lights out at probably like 7 or 8. What's up, Curious Contrarian? Welcome in, welcome in. What are your thoughts on Kohberger taking a plea deal? I mean, we all knew he was guilty, right? Like, what kind of a person would look at all of that information surrounding Kohberger and be like, oh, I support him? Ricky Bay. Kohberger Bay. Ricky Bay and Kohberger Bay. Howard, his attorney must have really thought he was cooked in a huge risk of death penalty. Life without parole isn't a very good deal. Life without parole is a great deal. When you compare it to being in front of a firing squad, what are you talking about, Howard? What you talking about, Willis? Otto, what's up? There you go, Richard Speck. I wonder how many Richard Specks are out there right now, just being tormented by the demons in his head, in the darkness. Thank goodness for the families and the taxpayers. Yeah, that's the flip side to the coin. The taxpayers already paid, though. It's kind of like everything that's happened up until this point has been in vain. They've already spent a shit ton of money. You know, a few weeks before the trial, it's like, oh, we're going to take a plea. So now all of that money spent was in vain. Down the drain. At some point, you got to, it's like the point of no return. You're too invested. The Delphi Looney, who's a pro burger, is losing her mind. I've heard her on other lives. Those pro burgers. I know. They must be saying some weird shit. Somehow they're going to justify it all in their mind. Like, he's innocent, but he's afraid of facing the death penalty, you know, because of all the evidence that they're putting against him. It's a better choice than the alternative. And that has happened before. There's been cases where the evidence was so bad, was so piled up against them, that they actually took a plea. But it wouldn't be something like life in prison. In this instance, it was like 14 years. And then he ended up getting off because the two other suspects were charged separately, and they didn't take the plea, and they won their case. So eventually, I believe he was able to appeal it. Let's go to Curious Contrarian. Had they not offered a plea previously, though, they may have been pushing for it, but the state wasn't adamant in proceeding with the trial. Yeah, I mean, they must have had their fears, because a plea deal is exactly that. It's a deal. You know, they sit down at the table and they make a compromise. You know, you play the hand that you're dealt. And really only the state is in a position to bluff. Good to see you, Miracle. All right. You guys have anything to add to the whole Kohberger plea deal? If not, we're going to talk a little bit about the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Right now, we are under a verdict watch, and there seems to be some interesting conversations going on during the deliberation. Thank you, Mark. Cindy, what's up? Louise, I saw a crazy creator claim he was MK Ultra. Of course. That that's the only option. She or he wasn't wrong. That's never the option. When it comes to a narcissist, that's not an option. I'm not wrong. He must have been MK Ultra. That's the logical option. Not that I'm wrong. Growing crazy. What's up? I'm so upset that this monster was given a plea deal. Where's justice at? Why do we even have a death penalty? The prosecutor had all the evidence. I don't know. Obviously not growing crazy. There's probably something that we're not seeing, that we'll never see. There had to be something that they were afraid of. Maybe seeing this thing drag out. Maybe it wasn't as open and shut as we thought it was. Well, we're going to bring you up to date. So they're deliberating right now, and the jury is having trouble with the critical details. They're at the clarification stage. Yeah, the Unabomber was in fact MK Ultra. So was Charles Manson. So it's really not that far fetched, but it is funny to say something like that with no evidence. But with the Unabomber, there was plenty of evidence, and with Manson, there's plenty of evidence as well. The death penalty may have lost due to the makeup of the jury pool. Yeah, it puts this extreme pressure on the jury. I mean, they when the jury members in the Karen Reed case came forward, they talked about this extreme pressure that was placed on them, especially because of the high-profile case that they were deliberating on. So imagine if their comments were, we didn't want to put an innocent person in prison, whether or not she did it or not. That's not what's, the state didn't prove it, is what they were saying. And we were under immense pressure. So imagine if you're putting somebody to death. Imagine the pressure that they would be under then. Anything could happen. Maybe somebody doesn't believe in the death penalty or believes in retribution or, forgiveness, stuff like that. Eli, grew up with Benjamin Ritchie, played backyard football, etc. What he did was horrendous, and the jury chose death. However, he got the death penalty, and BK, Richard Allen do not. Growing crazy, prayers for the victims' families. Some folks won't charge death even when previously asked. Yeah, I mean, it would put pressure on me too. And that's the kind of pressure that you should have as a jury member in every case, right? Shouldn't be in there all willy-nilly. All right, let's take a look at what's going on with the Diddy trial. So this article is titled Diddy Trial Verdict Chaos as Jury Surprises Judge with Note 2 hours after starting deliberations. And this was actually posted about an hour ago. Sean Diddy Combs' trial was thrown into chaos on Monday after the jury handed the judge a note just 1 hour after starting their deliberations. Around 5 p.m., Judge Aaron Subramanian returned to the bench and said there are 2 letters from the jury. The first was a question related to racketeering charges, specifically on whether one can be found guilty on distribution if another person requests, they give them drugs. So is it distributing if I ask you for the drugs? Like, hey, P. Diddy, hook me up, man. Let me get some of those. Can he be charged with distributing those drugs to me if I requested them? Or am I partly at fault? He didn't distribute them. He just did me a solid. I asked him for it. It's not like he was running around saying, hey, I got drugs for sale. Ketamine. Get your ketamine. The other note informed the court they plan to end at 5 p.m. Diddy's legal team appeared to look tense as they huddled together after the jury left for the day, while the prosecutors seemed more relaxed and were seen smiling. The jury will return to court tomorrow at 9 a.m. as both sides plan to consider their responses overnight. The first note, which came soon after Diddy's fate was placed in their hands, read, "We have a juror, number 25. We are concerned. Cannot follow your honor's instructions. May you please intervene." So they got a troubled jury member, number 25. So he's probably maybe paid. Shit, we might get a mistrial. I wonder what's going on with juror number 2. I could see Puff Daddy, bribing, getting his hands on one of the jury members. Diddy 55 has been charged with 2 counts of sex trafficking, 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, and 1 count of racketeering. He denies any wrongdoing. All right. So it looks like we had another note brought in by the jury during deliberations today. Okay. Second note was brought into the courtroom by the jury. All right. Hold on. I take that back. So this is an updated blog, and they have it kind of out of order. All right. That's pretty much it when it comes to P. Diddy. So his fate is in their hands. Drug distribution and RICO. Holly weird types. Holly weird. By poison, she was eligible for the death penalty, but got life without parole. So the only good part about the Kohberger plea deal is the fact that he won't be able to appeal. That's huge. That's big. That's a resolution. But it's just something that he expected. I hate to see that he's in control. He's been preparing for this. He got what he wanted. He's going to continue on with the quality of life that he's content with. But there's been these 4 families that have been completely robbed. Grandbabies, any of the amazing things that they might have been able to accomplish. All gone. And this guy gets to sit in his prison cell feeling powerful, right? I did all that. That destruction. It's kind of like an arsonist when he burns down a building. The arsonist always comes back to the crime scene. Sometimes they even bring a chair, sit there, record it. Like, look what I created. They think they're some kind of a movie producer. Well, he gets to spend the rest of his life doing that, sitting back and looking at the pain that he's caused and getting sexual gratification from it. That's deeply disturbing to me. And he's not alone. The prisons are full of serial killers just like him. I mean, you can they did an interview with Joel Rifkin, and he was talking about all the serial killers that he's locked up with, like these prolific killers with 60, 70 murders under their belt. And he talks about how they're just puny little men. They're nothing in prison, and like they're nothing. He's like, you don't even know they're there. They're just blending in with the rest of the group. These prolific serial killers. because they're right at home. Part of them probably feels relieved, like, hey, I can't go out and commit a murder. And some of them continue killing while in prison. There was a guy here in Arizona last month. He killed 3 inmates. All right. Have you guys heard about what went down in Coeur d'Alene? With this Wes Rolley guy. Apparently he has ties to Phoenix in California. Let's see. Let me put his face up here. This guy right here. So he lit a fire on the side of a hill near Coeur d'Alene, and he took position somewhere, a sniper's position. And when first responders showed up to handle and take care of the fire, the brush fire, he opened fire on them, killing 2, and I think wounding some others. So Wes Rolley, a 20-year-old from California, was identified as the suspect in the deadly ambush on firefighters in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, on Sunday, June 29th. Authorities believe Roley intentionally started a 26-acre wildfire on Canfield Mountain using a flint fire starter to lure firefighters, then opened fire on them, killing 2 and injuring 1. The victims were Frank Harwood, 42, a 17-year veteran battalion chief with the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, killed in the attack. John Morrison, 52, a firefighter, also killed. Dave Tisdale, 47, of a Coeur d'Alene firefighter, critically injured and recovering after 2 surgeries. Roley was found dead at the scene from a self-inflicted gunshot wound with the firearm nearby. I'm not sure what type of weapon was used. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris described the attack as a total ambush, noting the firefighters did not have a chance. Roley reportedly climbed a tree and used a high-powered rifle, possibly a shotgun and a long rifle, to shoot at responders. See, shotguns can be very deadly when you use slugs. It's basically a giant caliber bullet flying right at your head. Huge penetrating power. No joke. Probably deadlier than a 50 cal handgun, like a Desert Eagle. I'm not sure that's what he was using, but I figured that might be. If he's up in a tree and he's doing any damage with a shotgun, he's probably using slugs. All right, let's look at some of the details of the attack. Roley spoke with firefighters before opening fire, possibly after they asked him to move his vehicle, as he was living out of his car in the Coeur d'Alene area. He posted a chilling Instagram story hours before the attack, showing himself masked and camouflaged with a belt of rifle shells. Actually, I have that photo. And I also have a video of a statement made by somebody that actually knew him. Not a family or friend per se, but somebody that tried to counsel him. And it's very interesting. We'll listen to what she has to say in a minute. So you can see the shotgun shells around his waist on a belt. Looks like a tactical belt. So looks like he's listening to Bjork, and apparently he made a comment saying, "I'm going hunting." I like Bjork. No clear motive has been established and no manifesto was found. Sheriff Norris noticed Roley had only minor prior police contacts and no known criminal history. Speculation about a motive includes possible rejection from a firefighting job, potentially due to his height, as suggested by his grandfather. Canfield Mountain, a popular recreation area north of Coeur d'Alene, was the site of a 26-acre fire and shooting. A little bit on his background. Roley was a California native who had lived in multiple states, including Arizona, Florida, and New York, before moving to Idaho in 2024 for work. He was living out of his vehicle at the time of the incident. Unverified social media claims suggest he may have been born in Russia, but this lacks official confirmation. Now let's check with the chat. Keith, what's up? This looks like a snowflake. I mean, does it matter? Does it matter what his political beliefs are if it's not politically motivated? They're crazy, Mark. It's mental health. It's Satanism. We battle against evil. That's what it is. Wickedness in high and low places. People need to understand we're under attack. We are under attack. Let's go back this way. So apparently here's a photo of him getting ready to take an airplane. This looks a little snowflakey. Notice him all in black, right? That's the Satanism, the darkness that he carries with him. It's a telltale sign right there. What about the West Memphis 3, man? I used to wear black. I was goth. Obviously, it's a red flag. Obviously. Take the path of darkness. You got to wear it. Got to wear it. Like a new skin. Like some slithery snake skin. You never know when somebody who is deeply disturbed is just plotting on you. You could be the cable guy, the fireman, some meter reader. Could be a crossing guard. Somebody could be targeting you right now. Serial killers do this thing that's called trolling. So they troll, right? They'll go and troll an area. And then there you are. There's Patrick. He looks like an easy target. He twisted his ankle. He's limping. Who knows why they target who they target? See a young woman taking out their groceries. Might be a corner house with a back alley. Oh, this looks like a good location. And then once they're done with their trolling and they've focused in on a target victim, then they begin the stalking. What are this person's day-to-days? When will they be home? When will the husband be gone? When will they be home alone? Maybe I'll dress up like an Amazon delivery guy. There was a case out of Indiana where, well, actually, no, I tied this to the case in Indiana. There was a case in Canada, which is very similar to this case in Indiana, where a gentleman dressed up like a delivery guy, UPS driver. He had a box in his hand, but inside the box was his arm, and he was holding a crossbow. So you would open the door. There's a man dressed up in a UPS uniform. He's holding a box. You don't see any weapon, just a guy holding a box. and then he shoots the arrow through the box and through your chest. Now, how the hell are you going to see that coming? But you had a sicko, very similar to Wes Rolley here, coming up with this plan, fantasizing about it, planning, trying to figure out how he's going to get away with it and do it again. Because we know they'll never stop. They never will. They will never, ever, ever stop. All right. Roley's parents, Heather Lynn Kuipo Chuchiara and Jason Roley, divorced in 2015 when Wes was 10. Court records show Heather sought a protection order against Jason in 2015, alleging assault and property damage, and requested West be included as a protected person. Jason denied being a danger. Roley's grandfather, Dale Roley, described Wes as coming from a loving family. Arborists, with Wes working in tree services. I think his father owns a tree trimming company, and I think Wes wanted to be a tree climber. And that's why he climbed up to a tree and became a sniper, right? Their fantasy and the crimes, that's why the crime scene tells you something. So imagine if they never caught him. Like, what is the killer doing way up in the tree? You know, maybe he's a professional tree climber. And somehow he incorporated that into his fantasy and how he's going to go ahead and commit his crimes. You know, why Coeur d'Alene? Why is this guy way up in a tree? Why is he doing the things that he's doing? You know, because it's something that's near and dear to them, something that is going, you know, that's close to them, something that they covet. Let's see. Roley had a tumultuous childhood marked by his parents, contentious divorce, and allegations of domestic issues. His mother recently posted on Facebook calling Wes a man she was proud of on his 20th birthday in May of 2025. Roley was a track runner in high school, class of 2024, and enjoyed hiking. He had recently vacationed in Hawaii with his mother. Dale Roley, Wes's grandfather, expressed shock, stating something must have snapped, as Wes was not a loner and had a supportive family. He noted Wes had lost his phone, making contact difficult. The family rejected claims of Wes being a domestic terrorist and highlighted his admiration for firefighting. Okay, so why firefighters? Why Coeur d'Alene? And why was the suspect up in a tree? So all of those things, if this is an unidentified suspect, those items might point to Wes. You know, with the right investigative team being able to identify those telltale signs. Let's see. Photo surfaced of Roley's mother, Heather, wearing a MAGA hat in Washington, D.C., leading to online speculation and accusation that Roley was groomed by MAGA parents. These claims remain unverified. People are weird. Idaho Governor Brad Little called the attack heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem urged prayers for first responders, stating justice will be served. Authorities are still determining the motive, with no manifesto or clear ideological driver identified. Roley's social media accounts may have been deleted before his name was released, complicating efforts to understand his mindset. The attack has shocked Coeur d'Alene, which is one of my favorite places to go. We used to go there for our anniversary all the time, me and my wife. Beautiful town. I love it. One of my favorite places in the world to go. This is extremely tragic to hear that this is happening there. Firefighter Dave Tisdale's family noted he could open his eyes post-surgery, offering some hope. So he looks like he's going to make it. He's in stable condition. He was also injured in the attack. That's firefighter Dave Tisdale. Okay, so I think we'll finish up here with this interview. I'm not quite sure what this woman's name is. I think she might give it during her video, but she knew him and she gives some good insight here. Let's take a listen.
So I'm making this video because I want to talk about Wes Rolley, the boy that shot the firefighters and started the fire on Canfield Mountain over here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So I did meet Wes last summer at Black Bay Park in Post Falls. He was living in his van at the time, and we just started hanging out at the park and we barbecued together, and we always just hung out there at the picnic tables. And he kind of gave me a backstory about how he came from like Priest River or Priest somewhere here in Idaho. He told me a little bit about his family. I didn't know a whole lot about him. He talked all about
Eli. Interesting you say that, Sleuth. I subscribed to somebody and they kept posting stuff about you betraying them. It was odd. Yeah, you have to be careful on YouTube. You meet people who are chameleons, right? They put in the long work. Basically, you don't know it, but toxic people, sometimes they have to groom people in order to make friends. So I have to be cautious. This has happened to me over 5 times as a content creator, and it's why I'm so distant. So I apologize. But a lot of these people who are toxic by nature, they put on a mask and they play the long game. Before you know it, you've invited them in. They become even members of your channel. They're in your Discord. And then they get comfortable. And then you start seeing the toxicity, right? You start seeing the bipolar. You start seeing the rage, the anger, the hatred that they truly have for you, that for whatever reason they were holding back. But truthfully, something that I said sparked in them, and they decided to spend a year or maybe even 2 getting close to me, so eventually they can just prove that I'm a piece of shit, right? But and I'm not here to argue with those folks. I'm not here to say they're right, I'm right. I just cut them off. I don't have room for toxic people. And a lot of times toxic people will hide that until they get real close and comfortable, and then it comes spilling out. I just don't have time for that.
He said he was worked in tree climbing business or with tree work, and he just had aspirations to be a tree climber, professional tree climber, and that was his thing. And I recognized that he was kind of a troubled kid. He kept by himself. He just was very solitary, and he asked me a lot of questions about girls and if he thought like girls would like him. And I said, well, you're a good looking kid. I'm sure there's plenty of girls here. I said, but this is a Christian town. They're not going to like the shirts that you're wearing, because he would wear demonic shirts all the time. And, I
see, there's the red flags, the Satanism. It's always there. The demon is there. Most cases where serial killers and violent, sadistic killers were willing to provide some insight into their motive and what might be going on in their mind, they always talk about being possessed by a demonic force or a demon. I mean, this is something that's across the board with these types.
Tried to minister to him about his sins and his rebellion, and I recognized that there were some demons in this boy. Now, anyone that tries to judge my character and say, oh, you didn't recognize that he was a creep and all this, listen, I am a pastor. I teach deliverance. I deal with evil people all
I love that word, deliverance.
the time. They're always around me. The devil loves to come up and attack me. I used to live.
I really like this lady, by the way. Just want to mention that. I like her. I like her whole aura.
With a Satanist for 10 months that tormented me. Someone tried to murder me a year and a half ago. I almost died, okay? I am always dealing with evil people. I see evil in people, okay? But the Lord was very gracious towards me and kept me protected around this boy. And I suspected, I was paying attention to his mischievous behaviors.
So it's that God-given discernment. So when people are out there and like, I don't know why my life sucks. My life is shit. I mean, I've given my life to Satan. I worship Satan, and I do, well, that's why. You can't live off of bread alone, you guys. You need the protection of God. We are under attack. Once you understand that, you will realize how important the armor of Christ really is. And I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm just telling you because I know I've seen it actually work. It's worked in my life. It works now. The protection is real. That's what this woman is trying to explain to you. When you have the protection of God, you have that God-given discernment. And it's like a cheat code. So if you're struggling in life, it's because you don't have God. That's the only answer that I can give you. Because if you have God, you're not struggling. You know that you just have more understanding of your situation. You're not depressed, you're not fantasizing about wicked things, you're not wanting to be in wicked places, listening to evil music, surrounding yourself with evil. If you do that, you're going to reap what you sow.
He told me he had a gun, and he just was very sneaky about stuff. And I did recognize behaviors. I was like, he kind of reminds me of a school shooter. I recognized it in him.
You guys ever met somebody and you're like, oh my God, this guy's a school shooter, or this girl's a school shooter? Right? You ever get those feelings? Like, oh, there's something off about this person. Well, it might be the satanic t-shirt. It might be the greasy hair. It might be the Doc Martens tied up, with their pants tucked in, with the Doc Marten boots all the way up to their knees. There's signs.
I'm like, he's definitely the type of kid that I could see shooting
Trench
up
coat.
School. Okay, I saw these things in him. He was respectful towards me. We had decent conversations. He did at one point mention something about Jews. I'm seeing people saying he was involved in white nationalism. That does not surprise me. I kind of sensed that as well. Some comments that he talked about. I knew a little bit about his political beliefs. He didn't talk that much about it. We went swimming down at the creek or at the river, and he was very respectful towards not looking at me. I told him I was very modest when I would go swimming. I wore t-shirts and shorts to go swimming in, and he would turn around when I got out of the water. He did not do anything. He didn't try to hit on me, I'm 41 years old. I was like a mother figure to him, and I was trying to minister to him about his sins, but obviously I quickly picked up that he wasn't very receptive. And he tried to get me to buy him wine a couple of times. He one time brought a friend to the park, and his friend said, oh, I want to do Bible study with you. So this kid was a Christian, and he was very interested.
There you go, this account. Good to see you. Her intuition, absolutely. Trust it. Trust your intuition. Susan, what's up? None of us can make it without God. And that's why a lot of us don't make it. We don't have that help. And we don't realize that evil is just dragging us. It's like a weight or an anchor. When you drop an anchor from a boat, it just drags along the bottom of the water, on the bottom of the sea or the lake, whatever. That's what the devil is. It's like he's dropping an anchor for you and just dragging it along. Why is my life so shitty? Well, it's because you're dragging that fucking anchor, and you need to leave it behind you. Let it go.
In the fact that I teach the Bible. But yeah, I could sense that Wes was rebellious and mischievous. I did not see that much darkness in his heart, but I sensed it. I could feel it. I saw somebody post something about how he attacked a woman with a knife last year. And I don't know if this is true. I haven't checked the information yet. If anyone has any facts on that, that would be great.
Hey,
but
Hiawatha.
All I know is that the Lord protected me from getting hurt by this boy, from his violence and whatever anger he had in his heart. I didn't see it at the time when I was hanging out with him. He was pretty chill around me. But he was sleeping in the parking lot at Black Bay Park, and the police chased him out of there. I don't know if he was hanging around because he had motives to hurt me or whatever.
Yeah, he could have easily been plotting on her. That's what a lot of wicked people do. And that's why it's kind of funny when you brought up these weird other YouTubers or people who I thought were my friends that I've kind of met along the way. That's what they do. They'll kind of groom you. They're chameleons. But if you have that God-given discernment, for a lot of these people, for the 5 that have kind of turned on me, that showed me their true colors, I saw it coming from the beginning. I had always expected it. There was something in me that said, watch out. So when it did, I brought the hammer down because I knew it was coming. I saw it coming a mile away. I always do. It's just unfortunate.
But you know, anyone that has evil doings in their heart will pretend to be your friend at first. But the Lord protected me from him. He offered a couple times to give me a ride to the store, even though he was kind of a little strange about it, and I felt in my spirit, don't get in the vehicle with him. I just knew it wasn't safe. So I am led by the Spirit. I have discernment, and so I definitely did recognize that Wes was evil. I did. I saw it, but I did not feel uncomfortable around him because the Lord keeps.
See, that's what these folks need to understand, that it's a little more obvious than they think. You know, you might be able to fool most people, but you can't fool all the people all the time.
Me at peace. I'm not afraid of the devil. Okay, I deal with evil people all the time. I'm dealing with evil people right now, and I haven't talked about it yet. So I just wanted to share my story with Wes. And I am incredibly heartbroken that people have lost their lives to this evil boy. I'm heartbroken for Wes because I don't like seeing young kids troubled and having so much anger in their heart to the point that they want to hurt people and kill people. But you never know. When demons wake up in someone's soul, and yeah, they go out to hurt people. They go out to hurt people. And so I'm praying for the families of the firefighters that were lost yesterday, and people that are mourning right now. But anyway, have a blessed day, everyone.
So, moral of the story, when Satan is your daddy, you do his work. All right, guys, this is going to be our 5-minute warning. If you guys have anything to add to any of the information that we went over today, do it now or forever hold your peace. And don't forget, later on today, we are going to do a deep dive in the Phoenix Canal murders. Brian Patrick Miller was a serial killer out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Much like Brian Kohberger, but a little more disturbed, I think. And we're going to get into that. Maybe we'll learn something about what makes these people tick and how we can avoid them. Thank you, Hiawatha. God bless. Thank you. So we'll play our outro music. When we're done with the music, it's time to go. Disgusting murder, suicide, and how he hurt a lot of people. That made me mad. You know this account, I hate to speak ill of the dead, but I was friends with the captain. But I cut off all communication with him because I had that discernment. You don't know where it comes from. You can't give yourself credit for it. But I got those vibes. I got the vibes. I even told my friend Bruiser, I was like, you need to stop letting this guy manipulate you. This guy had sunk his fangs into a buddy of mine and was just manipulating him, and I could see it. And I could see that he was manipulating me. And then sure enough, once he passed away and killed his ex-girlfriend, he was manipulating everybody. Every YouTuber that I know, the captain was saying the same things to them that he was saying to me. So he was like grooming us. Kind of like a Keegan Kline. You know, over time, he figures out what works with the young girls. What things to say. What things not to say. Well, the captain figured that out too, and that's how he became known in the community. Yeah, but I seen it coming, guys. I seen it. I cut off all ties. He would reach out to me and be like, hey, why are you ghosting me? I would just ignore it because I knew what it was. I trusted my intuition. It's everywhere, Louise. You know, just in this world, people are evil. Conniving, jealous, backstabbing. smile in your face and then stab you in the back. Hey, Jari. Yeah, it's very upsetting. Rest in peace, Amanda. She didn't deserve that. Nobody does. And I mean, I just wish we could see it coming. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you for tuning in to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Some true crime news. Sleuth Crew Live. Big up to the gang, Sleuth Crew. All my supporters, if you're part of the replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Everybody else, make sure you tune in a little bit later in the day. We will be live again. You don't want to miss it. Peace.